Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission, as always, is to really cut through the noise and pull out the vital knowledge from the sources you share with us. Today, we're diving into something, well, pretty fascinating. It's about how a comedian, Seth Meyers, actually managed to take these super complex financial truths and turn them into insights that aren't just easy to get, but they stick with you. We're focusing on what he called the one big beautiful bill, those $4.2 trillion tax cuts from back in July 2018.
Right.
And you probably remember the headlines then. It was always like, Wall Street cheered, but Main Street shrugged, that kind of vibe.
Exactly. And that contrast, that disconnect, that's really our starting point here. We're going to explore how Seth Meyers, mainly through his Closer Look segment, took on this deceptively simple question he actually wrote on a whiteboard.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
Just, this helps.
Cool.
Simple, right. But when you're talking $4.2 trillion, we'll look at not just what he found about that bill, but how he built this, unique kind of influence, this credibility, using humor as his main tool.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack that. The financial reality he was shining a light on. So this $4.2 trillion one big beautiful bill, it was sold pretty widely as relief for working families. That was the pitch. But when you actually dig into the data, from places like the Tax Policy Center, it tells a very, very different story.
Oh, it's stark. I mean, the numbers showed households in the top 1%, they were projected to get over $120,000 in average tax benefits every year.
Wow. $120,000.
Yes. And then you compare that to the bottom 60% of earners. They were looking at just under $400 a year. On average. And a lot of that was set to phase out by 2021 anyway.
Right. So it wasn't even permanent for most people. And when you hear figures like that, it just makes you think about the real world impact,
Oh, wait.
Seth captured that so well. He had that great bit, mimicking a grocery cashier saying something like, "Thanks for shopping. Enjoy your $8 tax cut. Just try to ignore that your rent went up $100.
Yeah. It's brilliant because it connects these huge abstract numbers right back to daily life, things people actually feel. And that example, it just perfectly shows this idea of financial thinking, right?
Yeah.
Understanding that numbers just on their own can be really misleading. And Seth, well, he uses laughter like this powerful lens to get at the truth underneath. He has this knack for turning fiscal illusion, let's call it, into emotional clarity.
Yeah.
He's not using the comedy to brush it off. He's using it to decode it. He said it himself, didn't he? Comedy is just math with a better punchline.
I love that.
It makes us ask, who really benefits? Who pays? And why aren't we just told that straight up more often?
Which brings us neatly to his whole career strategy, right? And how a closer look even came about. It wasn't just there from day one.
No, not at all.
It really started taking shape around 2015. He said it was because, well, the news was getting weirder. That was his phrase.
I remember that.
And what he did was pretty radical, actually. He sort of merged, journalism's backbone, the facts, the research, with comedy's rhythm and timing.
And if you think about that in terms of how we all get information now, a closer look isn't just jokes. It really broke down the specific line items in that huge bill.
Like the details.
Oh, yeah, the nitty-gritty. We're talking like $700 billion for corporate rate freezes, another $220 billion in estate tax exemptions, which, let's be honest, mostly helps the wealthiest. And then over $1.2 trillion in phase-outs, hitting things like healthcare and education credits. The level of detail was, well, intense.
And he had that amazing metaphor for it, didn't he? Like, it's like giving Jeff Bezos a new yacht and telling teachers their pencils are now tax deductible.
Yes. It's absurd, but it works. It makes the scale of it all just hit home. But, underneath those jokes, there was a really deliberate strategy, building what you might call intellectual equity.
Intellectual equity. Explain that.
Well, in a media world that's often just chasing viral hits, quick views, Seth consciously invested. He built a solid team of researchers, writers. He aimed for respect, for earning, slow trust from his audience, not just fleeting attention.
And did it work?
Absolutely. By 2019, A Closer Look was syndicated to over 40 networks globally. It was being used in textbooks, business schools even.
No kidding. Textbooks.
Yeah. His producer had this great quote, "We don't chase virality, we chase verifiability." That deep dive approach, it really builds lasting value, real wealth in terms of influence.
Okay, so that's the strategy. But what about the day-to-day, the habits of success behind those sharp insights? It's not magic, right? It's work.
Oh, definitely not magic. It's rooted in this really rigorous, almost relentless a 12-hour prep cycle for every single segment.
12 hours.
Yeah, kind of makes you think about discipline, doesn't it?
Yeah.
His day kicks off at 8:30 a.m. with a research briefing. And this isn't just glancing at headlines. It's a deep dive. Fiscal reports, congressional statements, but also, crucially, looking for what's not being said.
Gaps.
Exactly. For that specific episode on the tax bill, back July 6th, 2018, his team cross-referenced everything. CBO projections, tax foundation models, old Senate floor debates, even testimony from the IRS commissioner. It's serious journalistic legwork feeding the comedy.
And that kind of homework lets him be so precise with the humor. Like that joke, this bill helps working Americans as long as those Americans own 4 rental properties and a Cayman bank account.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because it feels so specific, so targeted who really benefited. It perfectly embodies his whole truth-first comedy idea. His line was, if the joke isn't accurate, it's just noise.
Makes sense.
And that discipline, that rigor, it's actually made a closer look, a respected source, even in political journalism circles. Factcheck.org, for instance, they cited that segment on the 2018 bill, said it was statistically more accurate than 60% of cable commentary.
Get up.
Yeah. And NBC later revealed his team actually talks directly with economists. Yeah. So it just shows, right? Consistent habits built on real rigor, they become your reputation.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly. Let's talk about his life philosophy. This choice he makes to lean into laughter rather than just, rage, which seems pretty common these days.
It's a really interesting choice, isn't it? Especially now. He draws this line, sees rage as reactive, but laughter, for him, it's deliberate.
Deliberate how?
It aims for awareness in the audience, not just, sparking outrage. He apparently had this realization after the 2016 election that people were just emotionally drained, exhausted by all the shouting.
Yeah, I think we can all relate to that. So instead of adding to the noise, the yelling, the shaming, he chose to, disarm? Is that the right word?
That's a good way to put it. He mocks the system, the absurdity of it all, not the voters caught up in it. Remember that joke about deducting a Ferrari for gig work, but you could barely deduct childcare?
Oh, yeah. Classic.
It highlights the imbalance in the system itself, not blaming individuals. And his core belief there is pretty powerful. Laughter opens doors that arguments slam shut. That's a direct quote.
Laughter opens doors.
Yeah. And sticking to that, especially when the stakes are literally $4.2 trillion. That's bold. It lets the humor be like a mirror, showing what's broken, inviting you to think about it instead of just triggering anger and shutting down the conversation.
Which kind of leads into his power thinking, right? How he manages to have this influence without a title. He's not a politician, not a media mogul.
Right. No official power, technically.
No funding campaigns. But he definitely moves the needle on public perception.
And if you connect that to how influence works today, it really does seem to be more about voice than just volume.
Yeah.
Like you said, after his segment on the tax cuts aired in July 2018, Google searches for one big, beautiful bill shot up 430%.
Overnight.
430%. Yeah. And clips got shared by people like Senator Warren. CNBC picked it up, Business Insider. And they weren't just sharing it because it was funny. They praised the clarity and candor.
And get this, NBC reported, based on a 2019 Pew Trust Index, that his audience, specifically those under 35, rated A Closer Look as more trustworthy than CNN and Fox News combined.
That's incredible. It really makes you ask why. Why that level of trust?
Yeah.
It seems people aren't just looking for more shouting. They're looking for guides, someone who can break down complex stuff without dumbing it down.
Right. Simplify without patronizing.
Exactly. So Seth's influence model is kind of quiet, persistent, built on consistency, integrity, the tone. He doesn't just yell corruption. He shows you. He invites you to learn. A producer at NBC called it building followers of thought, real allegiance.
Followers of thought. I like that.
Yeah. It's power earned through clarity. It goes deep, not just viral.
So let's wrap this section up with his long-term strategy, how he stays smart, funny, and just in the game. You think back to 2016, right? The media landscape was shifting, getting way louder.
Very polarized.
He could have chased that, but instead he doubled down on nuance, remember, building a closer look into this regular ritual offering context.
And it wasn't always the easy road. You mentioned ratings dipped in 2020. Some critics said the format was too dense, maybe too slow for the times.
Right, the pressure must have been there to change it up.
But he stuck with it, showed a real commitment to the long game, not just reacting to trends.
And the payoff, that segment on the $4.2 trillion tax bill, 14.6 million viewers across all platforms. That was his biggest audience since 2020.
Huge numbers. But here's the really telling part, I think.
Yeah.
62% of those viewers rewatched it.
Rewatched it.
Yeah, and not just for the laughs. They rewatched it specifically to understand the bill better.
Wow. That says everything, doesn't it?
It really does. It shows he was preparing for the moment, not just chasing it. Leading by earning trust through steadiness, not scandals, not stunts. And that whole approach, it feels like a blueprint, really.
A blueprint for what?
For building real impact, you know? Play for trust, not for trends. Invest in clarity, not chaos. Win slow, maybe, but win for real.
So when we boil it all down, what's the big takeaway from this deep dive into Seth Meyers? I mean, in a world just full of, weaponized numbers, narratives crafted to persuade, he shows that humor isn't necessarily a lack of seriousness.
Right. It's a different form truth can take, especially when truth needs a way to breathe,
Yeah. He didn't try to outshout everyone or outspend them. He just outlasted them, didn't he? By building trust, one joke, one chart at a time.
And that really underscores the power in his restraint. Refusing to chase the cheap clicks, choosing to actually honor the complexity when everything pushes for simple sound bites. Through a closer look, he took dry fiscal data and turned it into public awareness. He made a $4.2 trillion policy.
Yeah.
Something you could understand, something you could feel. And that understanding, that's a really powerful currency. It helps all of us ask better questions.
Better questions like...
Well, not just, hey, how much did I save on my taxes? But more like, okay, who really got richer from this?
Yeah.
And who ended up paying the price down the line?
So here's a thought to leave you with. What does it really tell us about our information landscape today? When a comedian becomes one of the most trusted sources we have for understanding incredibly complex financial policy.
That's the question, isn't it?
If this deep dive made you maybe chuckle, but then pause and think, well, that's the Seth Meyers effect right there.
Yeah.
When trillions of dollars move around and the headlines scream, relief, but maybe you're still feeling the squeeze from your own bills, you can't help but wonder, who's telling the actual truth and who's just selling a convenient story? Was there a moment in this discussion that made you laugh and then maybe lingered a bit, made you think? We'd invite you to hold on to that, maybe share it. Your reflection could spark some clarity for someone else too. We'll be here every week taking a closer look together.